What's up everyone, thank you for joining today. This is CryptoVatsik. If you enjoy this content, I would really appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. As always, nothing of what you're about to see is considered financial advice and they're just my opinions. We've got another exciting one for you today, so you don't want to miss it. Let's get into it. Okay, today I'm going to be covering KDA, otherwise known as Kadena. And super quickly, before we get into the chart, let's just check out some tokenomics first. So right off the bat, we see that it's ranked currently at 123. It's got a market cap of 256 million or just over, with a fully diluted market cap of just over $1 billion. The circulating supply is only 22%, and the 24-hour volume seeing a bit of a decrease right now at just under 12 million, but this coin is relatively new, so I would expect volume to increase throughout the year, as well as an increase in the overall market cap. So it's definitely an interesting one for me, some pretty exciting things going on with it, but for this video, we're going to stick to the technical analysis. And really quickly, before we get into the TA, I just want to recap quickly from my last video on Veracity, a trade idea that I had where I had said I was watching a breakout of this upward sloping channel and a retrace down to the 618 fib, or otherwise this previous consolidation area. And the short trigger would be a break of the trend here on the outside of the lower band, which we did get. It did end up pushing up towards red first, but the ultimate principle was a break of that lower band as the trigger, and then the target being at the 618 fib right around 0054. And what did we get? We got exactly that. A break of the upper channel, pushed into red, came down and hit the target with precision. So if you missed that video, definitely go back. I can share it up here with you right now if you want to go check it out. But just wanted to recap that for you if you did watch the last video. But that's enough clout chasing for now. Let's get into the Kadena chart. Okay, so as always, we're going to flip to the monthly chart to start off. Okay, so like I said, a relatively new coin, at least on Binance, listed back in March 2022. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark out those key monthly levels to start. I'm going to ignore this wick for now because really that's just a result of the listing in my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and mark out the next candle's wick and we'll make the monthly levels solid lines. The next level I'm going to mark out is the candle open from back here in April. Next, we're going to mark this candle's wick and we'll mark out this same candle's monthly close, as well as the wick at the bottom of this candle. This candle right here, in my opinion, has a lot of significance where the following price action has derived from or respected nicely. So it's an important candle in my opinion. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with these monthly levels. So let's drop down to the weekly now. And the reason why I mark out these monthly levels way up here, despite price being quite far away, is because I'll save this chart and I'll come back to it as we start to enter the bull run and test these levels, because they'll play a significant role in the near future. But we'll leave those levels for now up there and get into closer what we're seeing here. The only two other levels I'm going to mark out is the November high, and we'll make it dotted, and the December opening candle close here. And below that, it's pretty simple. It's just our bottom. And it's really important to start your TA, in my opinion, on the high time frame, because it gives you a really clear picture of those more significant levels that are being well respected, rather than getting confused and chopped up in the lower time frame. But we will cover the lower time frame in this video still. Okay, so like many coins, we've clearly broken out of a bearish downtrend, which is great to see. But like I say with any other crypto asset, it doesn't mean we're straight to all-time highs just yet. For now, on the high time frame, this overall zone for me is a supply zone, otherwise just a resistance zone, with our current underside bearish retest, which of course needs to be flipped in my opinion if we're going to get a larger rally or if it's likely the bottom is in. But I've talked many times in my previous videos about those ceilings, so to speak, during bear markets that seem impossible to break out of, when ultimately we're just entering our accumulation zone underneath that ceiling before our final breakout and the bottom is in. There's just too much confluence with this red zone beginning all the way back here in May and again in June through July, and then all this interaction with it throughout the fall. But ultimately under this bearish diagonal, had our FTX collapse, pressed resistance on the diagonal, and finally breaking out. And a really nice weekly high time frame market structure break right here at this level that we marked out, stemming from this lower high that was ultimately broken with this candle and closed above. So for now, that's an area to consider a retest of. There's so much more going on in here, so let's drop down to the daily here. So there were a couple really strong triggers with this price action here now that I just want to point out, so that if you see something like this in the future, you'll be able to take advantage of it. So the first one being an Adam and Eve formation that starts off with a seemingly V-shaped reversal that ultimately fails, but then forms a higher low in a U-shaped cup like this, with the V being Adam and the U shape being Eve. So it's an Adam and Eve bullish reversal with a breakout of your bearish downward diagonal trend, a clean market structure break of your previous lower high, testing it as support. So there were a few factors to trigger trigger you here into getting bullish. Now, the other way of looking at it is if we drop down to the 12-hour and identifying the cup and handle formation that we had, which is not as clean as the Adam and Eve formation in my opinion, but it is there. And the reason why I don't love it is because it's tough to find the handle, but we've got this downward sloping channel here, okay, from the ultimate high here made in January, our next high here in late January, with our low here and our next low here. So there is a candle formation. It's tough to see. And then of course we had our cup here. So we had our cup and handle. Okay, so anyways, that's enough of that. Let's get back to what we're seeing overall. Okay, so the positive news for the bulls is that clearly we've broken the trend for now. We had a clean breakout and push up with these market structure breaks, and we're starting to put some pressure on resistance in red. And all the while we are doing it on decent volume. So it's a good move. It's a real move in my opinion. So it's not something I think will fail quickly down to new lows, but let's drop down to the 4-hour, a little bit lower time frame, and analyze this a little closer. So here's a really nice SR flip, okay, from this previous resistance area, flipped into support, and then again up here, previous resistance flipped into support. So all good signs, but we have pushed into resistance, and I'm going to flip up RSI here now. Something to be wary of and just keep us objective here is the fact that we've made a pretty significant higher high with a confirmed lower high on RSI. So if this is the dump from that bearish divergence, you know, then that could be, but I am leaning towards this dump being from possibly the bearish divergence that we had right here from this peak to this peak and this peak to the lower peak, because it's all within the same leg, okay? However, we are comparing from this leg over here and this leg. So the bearish divergence is coming from two major peaks and two different legs on a bit higher time frame, the 4-hour here. So it's just something to be cautious of. There is a positive piece here, is that there's clearly some sort of flip on RSI here, which you might expect a bounce from. So perhaps a little bit more downside towards this market structure break that we had on the higher time frame, this area of consolidation, and this retest, sweep of the low, and then we come back up and start testing red again at some point. Scenario 2 for me would be a bit more of a deeper sweep, closer to the 618, closer to this consolidation, and closer to this market structure break level that we marked out in the dotted line. And some added piece of confluence is a retest of this bullish trend, and we'll make that one thick. I think if we get the opportunity to buy in this area, then that's an absolute buy. Quite a large area, just tighten this up a bit. If we get a chance in there, that's a buy in my opinion, but I don't love to just trade off diagonals. I just use them as added pieces of evidence. So more likely for me, I'd be watching the horizontals coming and down, testing this market structure break, lose that, then I'm looking at the next market structure break, something like that. And then ultimately this would just be a shorter term trade if I longed down here, back up to that previous market structure break and a sweep of the previous lower high. Because if we get this amount of weakness this quickly, then I do start to think we're coming back down to test these lows. But for now, I mean, it is fair to just keep it simple and say, you know what, I'm going to stick to the diagonal. I'm going to look to enter on a test of the diagonal, a test of the market structure break, stop loss below a low, and target a sweep of the highs. So something like this is something I would consider definitely for a trade idea. And another thing too is if we take the fib from this leg, just this leg here, from the high to the low, it kind of looks like it wants to retest the 618 area again. You know, you could say it retested it here, but in my opinion, this overall leg was not finished yet and still had more left in the tank. So a higher time frame breakdown to the 618, I could definitely see happening still. So those are just some scenarios and different ideas of how you could play it. You know, there's no secret, there's no right or wrong way. It's just taking the risk at optimal times and having your invalidations with stop losses set. And that's all we can do as traders. And if you're right 60% of the time, you can win big, and you'll be profitable if you can win big and lose small. That's all it is. There's no secret to it. And then as we start to zoom out, let's jump back down to the 12-hour here. Again, overall picture, right? I think a break and hold above red is a very powerful sign. I don't think it'll break very quickly. I think what happens in the next few weeks is going to be very telling if we're able to continue to consolidate in some sort of range down here underneath resistance and power up for a really strong impulsive move that clearly breaks this area of resistance. That would be my ideal situation to confirm a much larger bullish rally. This would be a higher time frame swing trade or just an opportunity to jump into some longer longer term bags on a confirmed bullish reversal. But for me, the bullish reversal happened on this overall move. The trigger, like I said, was kind of down here and down here. So I wouldn't be getting long here anticipating a break above or assuming a break above resistance. I'd be getting long here for a short-term trade to cut here, because if this ends up breaking down and we get another opportunity to get in down here near the lows, that's obviously very ideal for long-term positions, and you want to have some capital ready to deploy. So you got to play it pretty strategically. If I had to go with my gut feeling, it would be a little bit more of consolidation under here, another test of resistance, and then chopping back down to these levels and potentially sweeping the lows again at some point. But if they're able to hold, it's a very good sign, because I know it's going to be boring potentially. But you guys, this is that accumulation that we are looking for the bull market. That means we've potentially entered our accumulation, and in the grand scheme of things, on a coin like Kadena, this is that point of maximum financial opportunity if you're willing to be patient and slowly accumulate. But only risk what you are willing to risk and trade responsibly. I'm willing to take risk down at these levels, knowing full well that the bottom may not be in yet, but I think that we're close. So I'm starting to accumulate, and I have been for the last few months. And I do like KDA for the long term. I think it's got potential, and it's still really new, so who knows what it could accomplish over the next couple of years. And remembering these high time frame weekly levels and monthly levels that we marked out way above, that are going to be super important once we eventually do break red into support and we can turn it green. These will be levels I'm watching probably take some off the table temporarily to reload up again, because even if you flip red, flip this level and come up here, that's a major move. If you take 30% or whatever off the table and price comes all the way back down here, don't you wish you had some of those profits to re-enter again with for the next move? You don't have to be a super advanced trader to know that you could take some off the table up here, say 30% or something, just to redeploy that profit down here for the next leg up. So it's just a matter of how you want to play it, to each their own. That's going to be my overall strategy into the bull market and to all-time highs. All right, you guys, I want to thank you again so much for joining today. I really do appreciate you joining and the engagement. It would be awesome if you could like this video and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. And of course, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think about the TA, about Kadena as a project. I'm sure there's something I can learn from you as well. So please don't be shy. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at CryptoVatsik. But otherwise, have a great night or morning wherever you are, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.